Alright, Devlog for November 2022. So first of all, I have a new microphone. This will come into play later. I now finally have an actual microphone for talking and singing, for recording human voices instead of using my instrument microphones. But yeah, that will come into play later with things I have later to say. So what I've been doing right now is to basically just get the final touches done and start working to actually making a product that I can represent to people. So I can play through the entire demo that I have ready. I can play through it, but there are still always like tiny things that I need to polish and balance. That's basically what I've been doing, polishing and balancing, so it's at least like something that I'm willing to show to people. Not show to people, I've obviously been showing the entire creation of this, but to actually let people play it, that's what I mean. So I also finally have some notes, because last time I did it without notes and I forgot half the things I wanted to say. So the main thing is I've worked on many weapon effects, because many weapon effects were missing. So first of all, the flamethrower now has a sound when you switch fire mode. Weapons also have glowing barrels again when you are shooting. This was broken for when I did the weapon rework into C++ out of blueprints. I broke the heat mechanic, but I not remade it. It actually was pretty easy to fix. I just had to call a few functions and then it started working again. Another thing that I fixed is the rotary barrels. So the rotary barrels used to work on a weapon-to-weapon basis. So every weapon was basically I copy-pasted code between weapons to add rotations to barrels, which was obviously bad. Now I just have a uniform system in one of the base classes that can handle barrel rotation. So the energy cannon now uses the exact same code for barrel rotation. So that's now just uniform. Also, the energy cannon has a energy source now in its chamber, which was missing for the entirety that I basically had it. And that just adds a lot of effect. And it looks really cool. It's like, if the lights are out, it is pretty cool. So, another thing that I have is, I don't know if I said it last time, but I have also now proper weapon effects. So, proper effects for energy bolts. They now stick properly to walls. Same with the plasma rifle. And now I have unique effects. Same with the flame. F. The flamethrower. Oh. That's not what I want to show. They now have unique effects with like glowing embers on them, so that's now unique. I'm going through this really fast. Like I don't want to stick on this for too long. The grenade launcher has its detonation animation back. It was broken after I went to C++. So yeah. Hold up. I have to constantly adjust my mic. So the microphone is a bit too heavy for the microphone stand, and it keeps drooping down slowly. So I have to keep readjusting it. So yeah, this was actually really easy to do. I actually had an entire evening planned to add this back again, but I could actually reuse the code. So I actually have a uniform code again for giving the player, or giving a skeletal mesh, another skeletal mesh, and then binding that skeletal mesh to it, and then playing an animation. So with this, it's like the flashbang animation. It spawns a flashbang, it's a separate object. It spawns the flashbang, adds it to the character's hand, and then plays the animation automatically, and then syncs it to the parent animation. And it's the same with the detonator. It uses the exact same code, so it was very easy to reuse and remake. So I literally got this working in like 10 minutes, since I already had all the animations and stuff. I just had to make a bound object that was similar to the flashbang, and yeah, very nice. Am I missing anything important? I don't think I am. So let's go on to the next point. Fix enemy jumping and getting stuck. Yeah, so this was actually something I did last month, but I forgot to say. I'm not going to show it because it just takes too long to showcase. Basically, what it means is that I actually talked about this earlier in one of the devlogs. Basically, enemies block each other when they try and jump, which is very bad, of course. So what I now have is I have a safety system in place that checks if there is an enemy in front of another enemy, and if that enemy is behind another enemy, the enemy won't try and jump and just get blocked during the jump. Another problem was enemies getting stuck because there was an enemy in front of them standing still, and because the enemy in front was standing still, they were like, I have to readjust my microphone again. God damn it. Because they kept getting stuck behind their other enemies, basically. So what I've done is I've added code that basically allows enemies to push other enemies out of the way. So if there's a big melee enemy behind a like small ranged enemy, that big melee enemy can just push the ranged enemy out of the way. It's based on the mass of the entity as well. So small entities can't push big entities, but big entities can very easily push away small enemies. So yeah, I have 2 new explosive barrels. So one of them is those wooden barrels. They are like not the industrial version, and they are basically placed in the what do you say? The alien levels. I'm gonna say they just work exactly the same as these barrels, so it's not very interesting. But I have also made another type of barrel, which is barrels that can like do this. Unfortunately, there is one downside to these barrels right now, and I have to find a way to fix that. And that is that they don't really behave unpredictably. They basically just get stuck to something. So that's just because of the hitbox. So if I go to the mesh, mesh, it's in geometry, barrels, gas tank. So if I show collision, there is this big flat collision piece on the bottom, and it basically just very easily gets stuck on that. So that's why it doesn't really behave as unpredictably as I would want to. So maybe I can, like, once it gets hit, maybe I can make it so it actually starts, I forgot to behave unpredictably. Like, just replace the hitbox with something that isn't flat so it can easily skid off walls. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, next thing. Recoil rework. Yeah, so this was also something I did last month, but I forgot to talk about. Okay. This is going to be a jump cut because it's too complicated. It's too complicated to talk about the recoil in like a short way, and I don't want to dwell on it too long. So I'm not going to talk about the in-depth reasons what I changed about the recoil. The thing that you need to know about the recoil is that the recoil is now a lot less severe. It is now like slowly ramps up instead of like immediately jumping up violently. It is now a lot less severe. It is more reliable and less severe, and it's easier to control. That's basically it. And it's just way more fun for every gun that uses... I mean, they all use recoil, but for the automatic guns, it's now just a lot better and easier. So, yeah. Let's go to the next point. Sub-level saving, yes, okay. So there was one more final problem, and I believe this is the final problem. At least I have done a half month of playtesting without finding any more save problems, so I think this is finally the last problem with the save system. It wasn't really a bug. I'm gonna explain it. It wasn't really a bug, it was more like I never actually bothered to add the system. So what the problem was that when you go through a sub-level, that information of a sub-level gets saved into an object. So there's an object called a level stream object that keeps track of which items were in the level, and then it stores it in that, and then it saves them, and then when you re-enter the level, it knows which items were there. Ignore the fact that it says failed to load sub-level actors. That's just because I changed some things around but didn't remove that devlog message. So I just picked a bunch of stuff up. So now if I now go through the sub-level, that sub-level is completely unloaded from memory. It's gone. Like, it's not like invisible or anything, it's just completely gone. And then when I re-enter it, you'll see that the things I picked up are gone. That's how it should work. What was going wrong was that when I saved and loaded a game, so here I saved and loaded, it didn't save the sub-level objects. And that was basically it. I just literally never actually made code that saved the sub-level system. So it wasn't really a bug, it was just literally something I forgot to do. So yeah, that's now fixed. Rebalance resources. So yeah, I've been playtesting through the game, and what I came across was that E1, M1, so the first level, had way too many resources, and you were basically always full on resources. So E1, M1 has way less resources, and E1, M3 has way more resources, because here I was unable to finish my playtest because I literally just didn't have enough ammo. I do have the pistol as a backup weapon, but that pistol as a backup weapon, I mean, it is possible technically to go through the entire level with it, but it's such a pain that I didn't bother with it. It would have taken me hours. So yeah, I also rebalanced a bunch of the fights, specifically in this level. So some of the fights in this level were way too hard, and that was mostly due to too many enemies at the same time. In this arena here, there were at many points, there were like 8 enemies at the same time, and because many enemies have tracking attacks, so they actually track their projectiles. They don't have homing protection, but they like actually try and track you and shoot you. Because of that reason, it was very difficult to survive, basically. Plus the fact that you basically ran out of ammo and had to switch to the handgun. It was basically an impossible thing. Even with cheesing it, I barely could make it through. And even when I made it through, I realized that the bridge was bugged and it didn't open the bridge. So I got stuck anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna do some more playtesting and actually get to the end. But yeah, fixing old meshes. So I've also been fixing a bunch of old meshes that I have. I'm just gonna show one. So one of them is the ventilator. Actually, I'm just trying to think the best way to show this. I think it's just fast if I go back to the developer map. Movement developer. Shit. That's the registry. So, delete him. I don't want him. Here. So the ventilator, one of the oldest meshes, now actually has a better looking mesh. I actually reused the asset that I made for the background of my electronic music. The ventilator I made for that scene, I actually reused it. And there's also like a small updraft of like steam, smoke, whatever, dust. So it has a bit more flare. And also you die if you jump into it. It's, I think, a bit too high now. Yeah. I just put it down a bit. So yeah. Hold up. I gotta adjust the microphone again. Okay. Let's see if I can finish this before the microphone droops too far down again. Let's see. What's else? Work on the new hunter shotgun. So yeah, I have been... Okay, I think I'll first tell what I don't like about the hunter shotgun. The hunter shotgun is the developer name. I call it the hunter shotgun because it's basically a hunting shotgun in terms of like low spread, far range, double barrel. So I don't like this. First of all, I don't like the alt fire. So the alt fire knocks enemies up in the air and it makes them stuck in the air. Which, it's a bit of a boring effect, and honestly, I don't like it that much. But that alone would not have been enough reason to completely redo the hunting shotgun, but obviously it takes a bit of time to rework and redo an entire weapon. I mean, at least it's work that I enjoy doing. Like, I've said this multiple times. The thing I like work on the most is enemies and weapons. Enemies and weapons are the two things I just get the most enjoyment out of making. So the second thing, I don't like the model. First of all, the model is way too much similar to a concept art that I used. I usually never directly recreate things out of concept art because of copyright reasons, obviously. I usually only take design cues. With this weapon, I actually took a bit too many design cues of one concept art, and I've never been comfortable with it, and I've realized, like, you know what, I don't want any trouble. Let's just redo the entire model. And let's as well, so that's basically the first reason. Just this was too much copied from someone's concept art that I can't realistically use this. The second reason is that it actually has way too high of a poly count as well. I did a lot of like edge trimming, edge beveling on this, and it has too many polygons. It has way too many polygons. It has the most polygons of any weapon, and it doesn't deserve to have that many. The second problem with the model, it's actually too lanky. Double barrel shotguns in games should be like sturdy, big, like industrial, powerful weapons, and this gun is just way too lanky. So, and then there's the final reason, and that's not decorative. I have to keep shooting because otherwise I don't get control of my character. It's a editor thing in Unreal. The last thing that sucks about this weapon is that I never use this weapon in playtesting. And the reason for that is that it uses plasma ammo instead of energy ammo. So the other shotgun uses energy weapons to fire stun shots. This weapon uses plasma. The problem is, it isn't that it uses plasma that's the problem, it's that it doesn't use energy. Because I picked this weapon up, I don't just have access to the energy cannon, which means that I have no use for energy ammo that I find in the early levels. Which means that I'm basically wasting resources by not using this weapon and using my energy resources. Because I basically can't use energy resources and I basically miss out on too many things in my brain. So the problem is that if you pick up you can completely fill your energy ammo inventory before you pick up the energy cannon. Which basically means that you can also miss a lot of energy ammo pickups because you can't pick them up anymore because you're already full on ammo. And if you are using the hunter shotgun, you basically can't use that ammo until you get the energy cannon, which you get very late. So yeah. Now obviously it would be very easy to just switch the ammo type it uses from plasma to energy, and logic wise it probably wouldn't make that much, like, it would probably still make sense, but I don't like the alt fire. So all of those reasons compounded, this went on for way too long. All those reasons compounded basically means that I decided to rework the hunter shotgun. So this is the new hunter shotgun. It is still double barrel and it will still only fire 2 shots per magazine between brackets. What it's just basically going to do is it's going to cycle backwards and then load 2 rounds. So cycle backward, load 2 rounds, backward 2. It's kind of like the weird way the scatter gun for the scout works in Team Fortress 2, where he has like a giant magazine, but he only loads 6 in the chamber basically. And that's basically how this is also going to work. So it will still be a double barrel. It just doesn't work like a durable. It just doesn't work like a double barrel like you would expect. I have to readjust the microphone again. I need a desk mount for a microphone real bad. Okay, this is already going for way too long. So, still to do. I missed a bunch of stuff. I know I missed a bunch of stuff, but honestly, like, I have to be quick. Still to do. Re-record voice lines. So now that I have a professional microphone, now that I have an actual decent microphone for recording voices, I need to re-record the voice lines. It isn't just for voice lines and better devlogs that I bought this microphone. I actually also want to get back into, I actually want to learn singing. I tried to learn singing a few years ago as my good New Year's resolution. Failed. And now I want to actually retry because making an actual metal album is one of my dreams and it's one of my things that I really want to do. So that's why I got the microphone. And so kind of like, you bought a microphone, you better start learning singing, basically. Make spawning enemies clear. Yeah, so enemies need to make a really loud... This is mostly for demon enemies in the final level. Sometimes in the big arenas, enemies are too far away that you can't hear their voice lines. So I just need to have a very clear enemy sound that plays, that makes it very clear that, oh, there's an enemy spawning. Also better spawning effects. Light sources have pretty basic measures and they need to be improved, just like the ventilator. Add more visual effects everywhere. So I already added a bunch of extra visual effects to the ventilator with like the moving dust. I have also been adding some hanging like dust clouds and fog clouds to some of the levels, but more visual effects the better. E1 M3 needs a good fog effect. Okay, hold up. So in this level there is a shortened view distance, and I need to have a good fog effect to hide that, and that's basically it. So yeah. And that's basically what I will be doing. So the things that I will be doing this month is the things that are in the thing. Yeah, and I'm also going to see if I can find a way to stop my microphone from constantly drooping down. Like, it doesn't matter how tightly I have a microphone stand, but it doesn't matter how like tightly I screw on the microphone. It just always keeps drooping down. So yeah. See you next month.